All right. So I think this is kind of adjacent a little bit in a way too. We were supposed to talk about this last week, but we didn't. The teacher that got fired from TikTok.
Oh yeah. So this teacher,
Did we ever get his name?
it don't matter what his name
Nobody
is.
has said this nigga's name the entire time.
You want to look up his name while I talk about it a little bit?
All right.
While I tell people what's been going on? So this teacher posted a video on TikTok, and I feel like I can speak for most people. Well, not most people. A lot of people, when I initially saw the video, he was like, oh, I running late for my hair appointment, didn't have time to take my hair out. So, like, my students are taking my hair out. I was like, don't love it, but I'm not gonna like sexualize like these children and this like whole interaction. So I'ma just let it roll. There was another video where they were painting his nails. I said, hold the phone. What is happening here? And then there was like a couple other things too. There was a video of apparently where he like fully shot his shot at one of the little girls.
That's not what he was going on. He wasn't shooting his shot.
He was shooting his shot.
This was a completely unrelated clip that was like, I like goth guys. The girl was all masked up, so you don't even know what the girl looked like or who she was. She looked like she was in a school bathroom, but you don't know anything looked like. And she said she liked goth guys, and then he does a little golf thing on his head and acts like he's the little golf.
I can be
shit.
what you like.
You can imply it that way, yes.
Shooting his shot.
I don't think that was shooting.
Listen,
his shot,
after that, that second video, I was like, okay, this nigga's weird. And then the apology video,
that was
not
sick.
the like it wasn't even an apology.
It was like a recap video.
He was just like,
the tears was insane.
There were no tears.
But the cry face, the break, that was insane.
It was just like dry heaving.
The breakdown, like the acting was impeccable.
It was. It wasn't. It was really bad acting.
The script was on point. They called me bestie. It was on point. Like he really was out here like he was the girl from what was that movie? Was Sandra Bland?
And he was like
not Freedom Riders.
My students were texting me. Why are your students texting you? Why do your students have your personal phone number?
That's not that's not that weird though. Teachers have that just so you can have that communication. That is not a weird thing.
Nah, message me on Teams.
Okay, if you have that, then do that.
Everyone has that.
Now they do.
We went through the pandemic.
When I was in school, they didn't have that. But so you could have if it was your coach or whatever happened. Again, I'm not the best example.
There's literally like you could make. There are several apps where you can make group chats.
I'm just saying my school wasn't the best example of this. So there was something that happened in my school like this. So
we went to school at a certain time, you know, but like. At the point where we got to college, we had group chats with our professors and our whole classes in separate apps. Mm-hmm. So that's what he could do. Why do your children? Why do these kids have your?
Did they say
numbers?
he texts his text number? Did he say his text number?
He said text.
But that doesn't mean they didn't text him through an
because he could have said DMing.
But it doesn't mean he could have texted them through an appropriate group chat. So I mean, we don't know that. I don't want to. My thing is this. And I understand what you're saying, and I understand a lot of people's fears and saying it's inappropriate. I just hate when I see anytime men interact with women or children, and it's in an intimate way, it always can get perceived as it has attention, or not attention, but it has the potential to be harmful or pedophilic. Like, it always goes to that, where it's like, maybe the nigga just has a relationship, and that's just how it kind of flows at this time. And I don't think that it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go to being what we just said, those words, where it goes to being a problem, becomes being harmful.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Do you not think as a teacher that you have to like set very rigid boundaries between you and your students so that things like this don't happen?
I mean, if you care about just the job itself and not necessarily the students that are affected by the job, then yeah. But if you actually care, there's
do
parents.
You not think that you can be an amazing teacher without overstepping boundaries, like your students having your personal number and your students painting your nails and doing your hair.
I think that you can be a teacher who teaches the curriculum and a person gets information and can pass your test doing what you're saying. But I think if we're saying the thing where it's like a lifelong person who's had an effect on your life, who cares about the outcomes of your life, I think that, yeah, it changes that. Those things look different when you have somebody who actually cares about what you're doing and your outcomes.
I have another question for you. Do you think that this is different from the teachers who see, like, there's a little girl who's been coming into school over and over again without her hair done, and they do her hair for her, and nobody ever gets mad about that? There are teachers.
People do.
There are teachers who people get mad about that.
They'll say that you shouldn't be touching the kid's hair. You don't know what the parents' religion or what their status are, or what they want to be doing with the kid's hair.
But the teachers are generally, like, it's not like a widespread thing, and the teacher isn't immediately fired.
Because my thing is, I've seen women teachers do this with their kids. Like, I've seen women teachers hug the kid's all in their bosom. Like, I've seen where things can be blurred in that situation where it's like, is that really appropriate? We talk about the teachers wearing certain type of clothing. That was a big conversation for female teachers, where it's like, oh, all right, so what are we portraying and trying to say to these people and these kids? Because it's like, my thing is this: it ain't like these teachers are getting paid a super lot of money. Like, they're not out here changing their lives with this money. So with the type of money they do get paid, along with the stress and the headache that comes with it, you're only inviting two kinds of people into this environment. Somebody who really cares about these kids and really wants to do something about these kids, or
somebody
monsters.
Who wants to exploit them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're only doing one or two options. Like, yeah,
that's why it's a very, like, it's.
You have less and less teachers who are there just to do a check, and here are going to just give you the information and keep it going. Like, for me, one of the worst teachers in my life that I ever experienced in high school, he didn't have no weird relationship with the kids. He didn't do nothing. He didn't teach us shit. We came in and talked the whole class. It was a science class too, where we didn't learn nothing the whole semester. The only reason I learned anything was because I took the initiative upon myself to read things and educate myself. But if I didn't do that, I would have missed out a whole year of learning anything. And this nigga and that to me was the worst teacher in the world. If there was a teacher saying some kids took their hair out, like, I just feel like there is so much more that you could be doing destructive to a child than is that. And then, like I said, if the kids have parents, what he said in his little thing about the parents signing to be, for the kids to be on the media and stuff like that, cool. Like, I just hate when I think that we do this so often with men and their affection. I was
wondering about that.
We associate so much men to being like violent predators every time. And like, even when you hear people arguing, it's like, you don't want that blurred line because what? Because there's a issue that can happen. But that issue happens because someone has the intent on doing something bad. If a kid gets too much, they feel like, oh, this relationship becomes more than what it is. You can call so many people as a teacher to help you out. So if you do something wrong with the kid, that's because you're a bad person. It's nothing to do with the system at large. But when we have this perceived notion of a man is going to do something wrong, he may be scared to say something, because if I say anything, y'all going to believe this kid over me. And I just feel like we, at some point, we're turning the hose on teachers that really have good intentions, and we're saying like, oh, well, your actions in this, hypothetical situation that I'm projecting onto you is more important than the actual results and what you're really doing with these kids and what you're teaching them. That's what I'm saying to me. Because to me, that's why I am the way with other people's kids. Like, I'm very hands off. I really don't want to talk to them. I don't really want to have nothing to do. Like, I talk to adults. I'm not really trying to have and discuss anything with other children that aren't mine. Like, because anything can happen. Like, I just remember one time I was with somebody who I was talking to at the time, and they had a young kid that wasn't theirs. It was their sister's, their nephew. And he was bad as fuck. Like, nigga was a bad kid, talking shit, talking trash, young kid too. Bad as hell. And this nigga one time tried to lunge at me. And like, instead of doing anything or touching the kid or trying to grab him, stop him, I just moved out the way. And the nigga just fell down onto the ground because I moved out the way. They tried to get mad at me. Like I hit the kid or something. They all looked at what happened. I literally just moved out the way. He tripped and fell onto the ground, hurt himself. And they looking at me like, oh, why did you do that? Do what? Move out the way?
I was supposed to let this fucking monster demon child lunge at me?
So that's why I completely understand like guys and people who just don't get into the school system which I think that's horrible for. We do need to have all sorts of different types of masculinity examples in schools.
Yeah. Black teachers male teachers are important. Black male teachers are important. But
yeah, I mean, having a variety of people being educators to you is an important thing. Having a diverse type of understanding, because it's important to be able to, like, if you have a teacher who has an accent, that's important because you're gonna have to deal with people in the world who have accents.
Unmarketable tomatoes.
Oh shit.
You remember that? Unmarketable tomatoes.
But I just think that with this unconscious bias we have, especially towards black men, we just put violence on them when there's nothing wrong has been done. Like the teacher I know who did something like this,
I feel like
was a white man.
All of that is like so, like it sounds really good, but we are taught to be cautious because you don't know who could be the dangerous man.
But my thing is
because so many men